Hello, welcome to this SatCoder how-to video. We're looking at the process in SatCoder. To start with, we're starting off with the project preparation. There's quite a few steps in project preparation, and some of them are listed here. First of all, you would have to create a template that fits your model, and then you would have to create a new project using that template, and you would load the initial network dictates the structure for all the scenarios. Then you would have to load scenarios, check all the import messages that you get from both. That's quite important. You might have to edit your DAT file to make it fit the format that SatCoder accepts. And then in the end, you'll have to prepare the work for coders and reviewers.
Thank you. So when we initially create a project, in the file menu at the top left of the screen, we have the ability to create a new project. When we click on this, we're initially prompted to give a file name.
Yeah, Luke is selecting a location that I can access to so that we can do some multi-user editing at a later stage in one of our coming sessions. But he will save this file there. That file will hold all the information for all users to know the current state of everybody's edits. Okay?
So we've initially been prompted to create the project file. We can give this file any name, and it will give it the extension of .scproj, which is the default project file used by SatCoder. When we hit save, a blank file has been created for us. We then see that the project setting window has been loaded. We're able to initially give the project a title. We can choose the SATURN version. This will list all the versions we have installed on our machine. We can choose a coding template. By default, the program has as part of it the Highways England coding template.
Yeah, that is true. And the point we're making here is that the template that you get with this is an example of a template. It might not fit your area, and you might have to change the saturation flows. You might want to change the names, but that's all down to you to do this, and it's in the help file describe how you can modify this template, but it is pretty self-explanatory when you're looking at it. So if you need any help setting one of these up, I'm sure that Atkins would be happy to do that on a consultancy basis for you. In the meantime, remember that saturation flows are sometimes unique to areas.
We can also choose to import a new coding template file in the format of a text file with the correct delimiters as shown in the existing example. Then we have the various policies that are used to govern the project. Then we have scenarios. If we click the new scenario button, we can choose a name and description. So for example, you may wish to have an AM and PM. Obviously the description is optional, and then those two scenarios will be included in the project. Finally, we have the spatial adjustment and projection. This is where we can choose if it's left-hand drive or not, and the national grid system to be used for the project. Once we're happy with this, we can hit the save button. At this point, we can see that the program is opened for us. Clearly, we've made a project, but as it stands, we have no network associated with it.
Yeah, you can see you're logged in because the key says log out, and you got the opportunity to manage the team, which means that you're actually logged in as an admin. And as it says in the documentation, you're logged in as an admin by default. Your password is admin.
So yes, we can choose to manage the team being an admin. Here we're able to add new users. We can give them a username as well as giving their personal name and surname. For example, we choose myself. We can then choose the roles that are associated with this person. It can be multiple roles if required. For example, if I set myself up as a coder, if we hit the Save Changes button, we see that has now been added as another user as the project. When we created a project, we can also need to add a DAT file. If we choose to import DAT file, we'll be prompted to add this file for the default network and as well as any scenarios that we've created. If you leave the AM and PM blank. For example, you don't need to do this if we had signal timings included already in those networks. If not, we can leave them blank and they will use the default. When we hit select, we can go to the location in which our DAT file is saved. We'll then double click on this and hit the import button. When we import, we then get this dialog box that shows us if it's been successful or not. In this case, we see that there's warnings due to the fact that several of the DAT file cards can't be found.
Yeah, you can save the report, and we do recommend that you save these reports. And you also have to, if there's a problem there, you can look at what the report back is, and you might be able to get rid of the problems that created it. It would typically be knobs or like extra data that's not expected to be there. If you have knob extra vehicle classes or something in some of the cards, you can delete them from your network, and it will be able to load.
So yeah, we've successfully loaded our DAT file, and we can now see that in the navigation panel the program has loaded all the nodes that are included in that DAT file.
Yeah, I think maybe we should just prepare the work for the coders and reviewers, but we only have got one user at the moment, and that's Luke, and he's a coder, so we probably need to create another user. That could be Eric with a K, please, yeah. And then you can put me as a reviewer and as a coder as well. So you can add multiple roles to the same user, and we'll just go in and let Luke be a reviewer too. Okay. So we've chosen that it's not a good idea that we review our own work, because we've done that before, and as it happens, everything I create I find perfect, and Luke is I mean, everything he does is terrible in my eyes, and actually it makes a lot more sense to not review your own work. So that's really what it's about. I think Luke is probably by far the better coder of us, so I should not have said anything bad about him, like just ruining his future here. Anyway, Luke, if you assign half of the nodes to me as a coder, and you got this UI where you can actually assign the code and the review at the same time. So let's submit. I'm quite happy with this. If you select all of the nodes from the top down, you can select multi-select by clicking what? Is it Shift? Yeah. Okay, and then now Luke is going to. I'm not. It should be Luke coding these ones and Eric reviewing them, I think, because it's a lot easier to review than it is to code. So yeah, go for it. Okay, and submit. Yeah. So now we've just taken half of the nodes. We'll just pretend not to be interested in the rest of them. So okay. So if you hit the save button now, Luke, up. Yeah. Then the project is saved. Now we need to synchronize it as well, because we load in loads of new nodes, and for those nodes to be available to other users using the common file, we need to synchronize. What has happened at the moment is that Luke has done a lot of work, and it's all saved in his local copy. So now if he goes into synchronize, the application comes up with information that you changed your settings, and there's all sorts of warnings here, and you have to read it all because you need to understand it. So it basically says press yes to override the shared project settings, no to discard your settings. You just say yes here, then that means that everything is saved to the common project. And it says here that there was updated project settings and uploaded 17 nodes, and we're quite happy with that, and you can just say okay. So now if you go to one of the buffer nodes and assign that to me, because I think maybe I need to go and say I don't know what to do with this one. So now you've made this change, you can now save that to your local drive, and now if you go again into the synchronize should now come up and say you uploaded one node. So that's the one change you made on the node that you're told about here. If I had been in as an administrator and changing the project, you might get conflicts. So it's a good idea to only have one admin. Anyway, I really think that this probably concludes our session, except you might want to log out and then log in as Luke instead of as an admin. So you probably have to open the project, and it puts that in the recent files as you saw. And now Luke can log in, and his password is password, and he can change that himself. And that now you can see a lot of the nodes disappeared here, and that's because Luke logged in and he's a coder, and he's got a list of all the stuff he needs to code, and also probably all the stuff he needs to review, but there's nothing ready for him to review yet, so he's got a list of just what he needs to do. So that's his to-do list. That was easy.